Welcome back to Fiction Flux. What's up, Fluxers? Today, we're diving back into the world of fanfiction, and I'm super excited to share this new what-if scenario with you all. Imagine a reality where Nezuko, the beloved demon from the Demon Slayer series, wasn't a demon at all. The possibilities are endless, and I can't wait to explore this alternate universe with you. So, sit back and relax, and get ready to dive into this thrilling new story. Nezuko had been having a bad feeling since she woke up that day, and she doesn't understand this uneasy feeling, but something tells her something bad is going to happen. She was helping her mother dry the clothes close to the fire since there was snow outside, and it could freeze their clothes. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and her other brother were looking for logs for the fire. Her mother left a couple of minutes ago to finish their lunch, so Nezuko was left alone with her thoughts. After she finished, their lunch was ready, so the 5 kids and their mother walked in to eat. The feeling remains even when nothing happens all day. Then Tanjiro spoke. "Mom, I will go to the town to sell coal." "No, please," she whispered softly, and all of them looked at her. "Nezuko, are you all right?" asked her mother, reaching to touch her older daughter, looking some fever or something physical that explains what was happening with her. I just have a bad feeling, Mom." Her mother smiled kindly at her. "Tanjiro, do you want her to go with you? I'm sure if she goes she will help you, and she will feel better, right darling?" Nezuko nodded softly and Tanjiro smiled. "Of course, Mom," he said and stood up, then pat his sister's head. "Let's go, Nezuko." Takeo said, "Awa. I can't ever go with my big brother, and Nezuko will go first." He pouted, looking at his mother. "Maybe next time, Takeo." "Okay," said their mother with her usual kind and sweet voice. The young boy nodded, still pouting. When they were ready, both Kamado siblings left their house and went down the mountain. They were talking and laughing at Takeo, fighting to go with them. When they arrived to the village, people started to approach Tanjiro, asking for his help as usual. "Smell this, smell that, help me find something, or let my mom clear. I didn't stole her homemade cookies." Nezuko also helped with some other stuff while her brother was busy. Then their usual clients bought them coal until they ran out of it. Tanjiro promised to return tomorrow with more. The couple of siblings headed back to their home. It was late afternoon, so the sun was setting already. Tanjiro and Nezuko passed by a house at the beginning of the mountain. "Oh, Tanjiro, Nezuko, are you going back home?" They nodded with a kind smile on their faces. "I would like to recommend you to not travel by night. It's quite dangerous, there are demons at night." Tanjiro looked confused and rubbed his head. "We will be okay, sir. Please, I'm begging you," said the old man. His eyes seemed to be filled with tears. Tanjiro looked at Nezuko, and she nodded softly, then she looked at him. "Sure, we will stay." The man's face lighted up and let them walk in. He made them food, prepared 2 futon beds for them, and kept the fire up. They ate and talked about their day. The man asked about their mother and siblings. They told him about their earlier fight with their other brother, and he laughed. Then they went to sleep. This time Nezuko had a nightmare. She was arriving home the next morning. There was blood around their dining room and her siblings' room. Their mother lying on the floor, dead like her other siblings. Tanjiro was next to her, crying and looking around with an axe. He kept looking for a bear or a pack of wolves, but there was nothing to be found. She woke up sweating and screaming. Tanjiro was by her side. "Oh, thank God. You weren't waking up and I was getting worried." He hugged her tightly with some tears. "Tanjiro, we should go back home. I want to make sure everything is okay." He nodded. They had a light breakfast because the old man forced them to, and left that house. Nezuko was walking quicker than Tanjiro. He was getting worried, but he kept her rhythm. They arrived in record time, but the scenes before them weren't the one they were expecting. Like in her nightmare, her mother was dead on the floor. Their siblings were in their room, dead. Blood everywhere, and none of them were alive. Tanjiro was desperately looking for an animal, but there wasn't any, not even a blood tray to look for. Nezuko started to cry out loud, making Tanjiro run back with her and hugged her. They were crying when a young man in his 19s arrived. He was wearing black clothes covered by a two-sided haori. One half was dark red, and the other had a green and yellow pattern of triangles. He walked to them, placed his knees on the snow, and his cold eyes softened at them. "Hey. I'm Jiwoo Tomoka. I'm a demon slayer." He said, a little hesitating about that last part. "I got a report from this location. About a demon close by." I guess I wasn't quick enough." Tanjiro looked at him. He could tell by his smell that he was telling the truth, and he could notice the guilt in his words. Even when he understood, he was hurt. "Yeah. You are. My mom and siblings are gone." His red eyes full of tears. Jiwoo's heart skips a beat. He couldn't get there in time. He couldn't save someone again. "I'm sorry," he said, feeling sick with his own weakness. Tanjiro and Nezuko realized he was dealing with a huge guilt, so the girl said, "We weren't here either, we couldn't help them either." Her pink eyes were full of tears. "We should go inside. It's cold here," they nodded. Jiwoo helped the Kamado siblings clean the house and buried their family. They prayed for them and got in the house. They drank tea in silence. "Do you want revenge?" he asked them. Both kids nodded, then joined the Demon Slayer's corp. "I will train you to wield a sword and to fight demons," he said, looking at them. His blue eyes seemed lifeless, but when he asked them to let him train them, they seemed alive again. Tanjiro and Nezuko nodded after a full minute of thinking. "Perfect. Let's go to my house. From now on, you are my students." And with that, the Kamado siblings left their home and headed to Jiwoo's to become demon slayers and avenge their family. They arrived at his house by lunchtime, and after they picked rooms for each one, they ate, and Jiwoo explained what the Demon Slayer Corps was. He told them about the ranks among them, and about their breathing techniques. He planned a training for them, so they developed the total concentration breathing, the healing breathing, and how to keep them even in their sleep. He will work first on their body to get it stronger, then he will work on their kendo. After dinner, he was in his bedroom when his crow flew in. New mission, new mission. Head north, head north. There are women disappearing." He signed and got up and put on his haori, then wrote some letters and sent them. He stood up and walked to both kids. "Tanjiro and Nezuko. I have to go on a mission. I have to go for about a month or so. I won't be able to train you, so I will send you with two people of my total trust. One is my master Sankoji Urokodaki, and the other is a fellow Hashira and friend, Shinobu Kacho. Please enjoy and learn everything they teach you. When I return, you will learn the water-breathing techniques with me, so you have to be strong." They nodded, and Jiwoo left after that. The next day, they follow the instructions to get to Urokodaki's home, and to the Butterfly Mansion. Once there, Nezuko met Shinobu, and after putting her stuff in her room, the training began. The insect Hashira made sure Nezuko practiced total concentration breathing, and how to keep doing it even in her sleep. Also doing training to gain strength, have a fast movement speed, and become a better warrior. On the other hand, Tanjiro did the same things, plus increasing his sense of smell by surviving the traps Urokodaki put down the mountain. During that month, both Kamado siblings became stronger. Nezuko even learned how to do the power thrust that made Shinobu a powerful Hashira, and she became friends with Aoi and the three girls that worked at the mansion, and even Kanao exchanged a few words with her, which, according to Aoi, was quite rare. Tanjiro enjoyed his time at the mountain as it reminded him when they were happy with his siblings and mother. He signed, and this led to sharing his story to his master, and he also told him about his time as a Hashira and as part of the Corps. The month passed by faster than expected, and both Kamado siblings became stronger and were able to master the control of their total concentration breathing and the basics of the sword. Now the next step will be learning how to use the water breathing. When their last night arrived, Nezuko ate dinner and went out to play with the girls. Shinobu looked out the window at them and sighed. "Dear sister, I want to apologize to you because I envy those two girls," she said, looking at Nezuko and Kanao outside. "They are younger and are almost the same height as me. And they are stronger, and I'm sure they will be able to decapitate demons. I'm 17, so I need to behave myself," she sighed. But at the same time I'm so proud of them, and I'm looking for them to defeat that demon that killed you." She took a deep breath and smiled as she watched them playing and relaxing. Tomoka must be already arriving home, so she will take Nezuko with her, and have a chat and maybe give him some of his favorite snacks. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and Yurikadaki ate a lot of food and chatted. The old man missed having a young person with him. He missed talking with others about his profession, and how he survived a lot of battles. The next day Tanjiro left early and went to Juwoo's house. Nezuko left with Shinobu, and by noon both siblings were reunited and talking about what they did. While Juwoo spoke with Shinobu, holding his master's letter as well. "You and my master did a great job. I knew I could trust you with those two. I'm curious about Tanjiro. He seemed different from Nezuko. He has an amazing nose. He can smell even the emotions. Nezuko seems less skilled, but as you told me, she's strong and mastered in a month your trusting technique." Yes, and she managed to hear Takano's voice, which is something weird. "Yeah, she's beyond quiet," he said, looking at her. "Now that I will start with a water breathing. I hope you and Kanao can come to train with us." She nodded, surprised by his proposal but very happy for that. Then she left and the training began. He taught them the first form and both kids practiced it all day, until it was natural for them. He decided that he will teach each form, day by day, and then they will fight with Bakans against each other. Juwoo noticed that Tanjiro had troubles with some techniques, but maybe in the end he was able to do it. However, Nezuko seemed more natural and learned them faster. After they learned the 11 forms, they started to practice in real combat. He made sure to add a prize for the winner, so they would put some effort in the practices. Sometimes he even fights with them in a 1 versus 2. It was easy for him to win, but as they mastered the water breathing they became stronger. It started to get harder to win. When Kanao joined them, the same thing happened. At first she seemed very superior, but the two Kamado siblings grew stronger and faster. Their teamwork made them stronger, but when they were fighting in a 1 versus 1. In the end it took a year and a half to be ready for the final selection. Juwoo gave them 2 swords he has as replacement for his official sword. Then they left with Kanao to the mountain where the selection will be held. The 3 kids arrived at the place of the final selection to be part of the Demon Slayer Corps. During their travel their Kanao barely talked and Tanjiro noticed her using a coin every time she wanted to talk or do something. Nezuko told him that she did it when she was at the Butterfly Mansion, but never asked her why she did it. When Tanjiro was about to ask her, 2 little girls approached them. Just then Tanjiro noticed that there were lots of kids wanting to join the corps. "Thank you for coming to the final selection," said a girl with black hair. Then she added, "Inside that forest there are demons that were captured by other demon slayers. You must reach the mountaintop Shire. The surrounding of the forest we have wisteria that is poisonous for demons. You must go from the mountain's foot to the slope in 7 nights. Whoever reached the slope alive will be part of the Demon Slayer's corps." This time the girl with white hair spoke. "We wish the best for all of you." Both of them took a bow and she added, "We will see you in 7 days." All the kids ran in the forest. Tanjiro and Nezuko worked as a team killing demons. Both of them saved several kids they found on their way to the slope of the mountain. Thanks to Juwoo's training in real combat with him and Kanao, both of them became stronger than other candidates who only learned the forms of their breathings and got body strength. By the 5th night they were almost at the top of the mountains when they found a huge green demon, with lots of arms around his head and body. "Nezuko, there's a strong blood smell." The other demons didn't have that strong smell. "This demon had been eating a lot of humans," said Tanjiro in a whisper to his sister, as they unsheathed their sword, ready to fight. Meanwhile, away from Mount Fujikasane, Juwoo went to where Yurikadaki's house was and headed to that clearance where he and Sabito used to take a nap after practice, and where they shared their tragic stories. There was a little Buddha statue. "Master, you put this here to pray for his soul, didn't you?" thought Juwoo, smiling slightly. He put his knees on the ground and prayed, even when he lost faith in that when he lost his loved ones. But now he wanted to pray for his students. He became attached to them and wanted them to be protected by someone up there. "I never thought I would see this. That voice. Jiwoo's muscles freeze in place. How was this happening? Jiwoo Tomoka praying. If only the master and Mirada could see this. As Sabito said him with tears in his eyes. Jiwoo said his voice and Jiwoo turned, afraid that he had gone crazy, but there was the figure of his best friend, Sabito. He looked like the last time he saw him. Alive. What does this mean? I'm here to remind you of that promise we made here. That you will honor your sister's wish, and now my wish for you to be alive and help others. I died doing what I wanted to do. Help others survive. Right now your students are fighting that same demon that killed me and other Urokodaki students. His eyes showed terror, so Sabito added. You trained them, you did it amazing, and those two will do it. I can tell that Tanjiro's kid will kill it because he's strong. He mastered those wicked traps Urokodaki loves to put down this damn mountain. Sabito was wearing his mask, but Jiwoo could bet he was smirking. Forgive yourself. You are alive and became a Hashira. Don't you dare feel sorry for you. Jiwoo smiled and nodded, fine. I will keep my promise and survive. Sabito's mask was cut in half at that moment and Jiwoo could see his eyes again, and that big smile. Then Sabito disappeared. Jiwoo had some tears in his eyes, then he cleaned them and went to Urokodaki's house and drank a cup of tea. Back in Mount Fujikase, Tanjiro and Nezuko held hands with tears in their eyes, as the demon's body disappeared, and he shared his sad story before turning into a demon. Tanjiro told his sister about Urokodaki, and how much he learned from him when he was with him. After the death of that demon, their way to the top went smoothly. Neither of them had deep wounds, and by the last day, they could see that only 4 other kids survived, a blonde one, a kid with a boar mask, one with a mohawk and Kanao. Congratulations to all of you who survived. You will receive a Kasagai crow who will tell you where to go, and you can use them to send letters to other members, and they will send letters back to you. 5 crows landed on each of them, except for the blonde kid who got a small sparrow. Now you have to pick on of these metals so we can send them to the swordsmiths so they can build your swords. The mohawk kid became irritated and attacked one of the girls asking for a sword. Tanjiro held his wrist and asked him to release the girl, or he would break his arm. The boy, feeling his strength, released the girl but looked angry at Tanjiro. Then Tanjiro looked at the rocks in front of him, but didn't understand what to do. Then he focused on his smell and picked the one that smelled good for him. Nezuko felt an attraction to another rock as well as the other kids picked theirs. Later that day they left with the promise of receiving their swords soon. They left to Jiwoo's house. They were all dirty and tired but glad to survive. When they arrived there was Jiwoo waiting, and when he saw them he hugged them. It was a surprise for both since their master wasn't like this, but it was welcome, considering the situation. There was also Shinobu hugging Kanao. They took a bath, put on new clothes and ate together, and they shared how the selection was. Jiwoo took notes of their clothing size and ordered their uniforms. Then they spend their following days training and getting stronger until 2 swordsmiths arrive. They wore weird masks which at first scared them, but they explained it was for their protection. I'm Kanamori and this is Hagenzuka, and we were assigned as your swordsmiths. I will be Nezuko's and Hagenzuka will be Tanjiro's. They nodded. Then he handed Nezuko her sword. Ladies first. She held it and unsheathed her sword, which turned into a beautiful deep blue just like Jiwoo's. You have red eyes and hair and those Hanafuda earrings. You must come from coil burners, and those features indicate the god's blessing. He handed the sword to Tanjiro, and when he unsheathed his sword its color changed into a deep black color. Hagenzuka looked disappointed. Black? Jiwoo looked a little disappointed as well and nodded. It means bad luck. Tanjiro looked worried. But it's the color you resonate with, so. We can't do anything, said Kanamori with a calm voice. Nezuko, on the other hand, is more in tune with the water breathing. Then he looked at Jiwoo. Well, it was nice to see you again, Mr. Tomoka. Let's go. Hagenzuka. They left. Jiwoo handed them their uniform and went to their first mission. Maybe Tanjiro should talk with Rengoku, said Shinobu as she saw them leaving with their crows leading the way. I heard they have the books from the Flame Hashira from the Sengoku era. There was a man who owned a black sword. I will tell them once they are back. but I bet their crows will give them more missions in the same area. But can you ask him while they return? He said, turning to her. She could tell something was different. His eyes still looked the same, but she could see a little more of life in them. As you wish, Tomoka, she said with a genuine smile. He gave her a smile as well. Okay, I felt something was different, but now I'm sure something changed. Tell me. He looked at her and sighed. Of course she could notice. She was the only one who took her time to be around the grumpy Jiwoo Tomoka. I had a spiritual experience with someone who meant a lot to me when I was about Nezuko's age. And he helped me move on from things from my past. I'm glad, Tomoka. I hope something like it happens to me. But I'm too much of a scientist that I might have doubted it. He smiled. Kenny could make sure you won't doubt it. They laughed. Sure she will, she laughed more. But with a smile on her lips and her eyes shining with kindness. Just like Tanjiro's, Jiwoo nodded and looked at her. Yes, that sounds like Kanikacho. They continued to talk until midnight. Then the insect Hashira left with a mission in her mind and feeling happy to see her friend Jiwoo healing himself. Even when she didn't believe in spiritual experiences. But if that worked, then she was for sure be thankful for that development from him. This is it for today, folks. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I did creating it for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a fantastic day, and until we meet again, bye for now.